Okay, so I've just done a video on making this little pouch with this popcorn stitch, which then done in the round and then into a little square, and I've joined that together. And then I thought, oh, I really should have explained or given different options rather than a magic circle, because magic circles just drive you insane until the light bulb moment happens. And really, you can do all sorts of other ways of getting started into crocheting in a little ring. So I'm going to just use some scrap yarn and a slightly bigger hook. I'm going to use a 4.5mm hook, and this is just some leftover yarn. This is a 10-ply cotton, which you can get in Australia, which is called Fiddlesticks Finch, and it's really lovely to work with, as opposed to this one's also sourced from Australia from Source of Fibre. It's an 8-ply weight, but on the finer side, I would say, of an 8-ply. And when I was making the tutorial, I realised that it wasn't particularly easy to see the stitches with this particular pattern. So I just wanted to add on an extra little segment. I'm not sure if I'll put it at the beginning or halfway through the middle, but there's another couple of ways of doing that circle into a ring. So options are making a slip stitch and chaining 4. You could chain 5 or 6 depending on the size of the project. So you chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you go into this stitch here, the first chain that you made. Now I'm going to go through, go under 2 loops there, and then you just slip stitch and pull through, and then slip stitch to join. Now sometimes that's hard to see where you're supposed to crochet into, so everything's a bit confusing until you figure it out and decide what you want to do. So now we're going to do 8 single crochets into that ring. So this is a bit thicker, so potentially you might need to do 6 chains, not 4, but you're just going to go into that circles, and I'm going to work over that. I'll just hold that tail under the first one. There's your first single crochet, second single crochet, third, fourth, fifth, you might need to move it over a bit, around, 6, 7, 8. So that saves you from stuffing around trying to figure out a magic circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I can slip stitch to join, and then we're going to be working around those 8 single crochets. So it's not too bad. You might find with the different thicknesses of your yarn that you can't cinch this or pull that tight, but that seems okay. And so then we can continue, chain 3, and then we're going to do 4 more double crochets into that first single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this popcorn stitch is what gives it a 3D effect to the end result of your flower. I'm just going to pull that up a little bit. I'm going to take my hook out, and I'm going to go back to the top of the first stitch, which is a chain. In this example I'm doing as a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember that these stitches, the first one in the beginning of your row, is always hard to see because it's on the side. So I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to go through the middle of that, and I'm going to put my hook through there, and I'm just going to pull that through that loop. Now in the example in the video I just did one chain to secure that, but you might find that doing 2 would be better. And then we're going to do 5 double crochet into the next stitch. Sorry, I'm just using a bit of scrap yarn, so that was getting in the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull that up, rotate our work a bit around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see now that we've got going, we can see that V. So we can put our hook under both those, the 2 parts of that loop. Pull that through, a bit tight, and chain 2. So when you come to the next part of the pattern, it's much easier to see this gap where you're going to be putting your stitches into. Whereas in the example I gave with the video tutorial, I only did 1, so it was a bit trickier to see. But you can do 2 and it works up exactly the same. Just a bit easier to get your stitches into, gives it a bit more space. So we've done our 2 chains, and now make sure that we're going into the next single crochet. Don't accidentally go to the next one. We want to make sure that we end up with 8 of these little petals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, with this example, I'm assuming that you've actually watched a tutorial on doing a double crochet, which is in US terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if you're having a bit of difficulty seeing that first stitch, because that's the chain of the chain 2, always count, and there's that post of the first double crochet. So go in under those 2 loops, which is the top of the stitch, pull that through, chain 1 to secure, and then 1 extra chain. So that's pretty much how we get going with that example. All right, I'm going to pull that out and we're going to try another option. So you can do another chain 2 method, but basically you just don't put the knot in the first part of it. So that's the tail, and this is your working end. And you just put your hook underneath that, and then you rotate it. And then you do 1, 2, and then you don't end up with such a tight knot there. And you can even, you loosen it, I say, with a difficulty. It's not supposed to be that tricky. Just loosen it a tad. And we're going to do, so again, I mean, that essentially is a magic circle. I don't know why everyone makes things so tricky. And then into that second stitch, we'll do so we've got 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single crochets. Then we'll join this one under both loops, and you can, and that's got a much tighter join. That's almost identical to a single to a magic circle. And there we continue, and we make our, in total, 5 double crochets into that stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pull that one up, 1, 2, 3, 4, go back and have a look here. If you can't get under the 2 bars, just pop it through the center for this first one. Grab that and pull it through, and because it's going to the back, you're not going to notice, so that's fine. Yeah, so I'll pull that out. So again, if you were doing the chain 2 method, and we did do a slip stitch, so a slip knot rather, so tail end, wrap our yarn around, yarn around, put our hook through the circle, grab our yarn and pull tight. Now in essence, that's how you do a magic ring, but you just don't tighten it up. So let's just do this chain 2 method this way with the knot, the slip stitch, chain 2, and then we turn our work on the side, don't go into this one, and into this stitch here we work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and don't worry if you work over that little knot a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Under both those, loop and slip stitch, pull through that stitch and then pull through. So I just find, for me, and I might be doing something wrong, but I just find that having that knot prevents you from, it just doesn't work as well, but you know, it works. So chain 1, 2, 3, and then we start the pattern. Another 4 double crochet stitches into the 1 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again, see how it's on its side. You'd miss it. It's so weird when you do that chain 3. 1 to fasten it, close, and then just an extra 1, and then you start exactly the same. 5 into the next stitch. Pull up your loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easier to see now that we're actually working in the round. Pull that yarn through those 2 loops. 1 chain, 2 chain. So doing the 2 chain, when you separate those 2 popcorn stitches, it's much easier to see where you're going to do the next round into. So I'm going to pull that back out. Yeah, so just do that one again. So if you're going to do a slip knot, made a little loop, you put your hook in and grab that and pull that up, and then usually you tighten that. But if you don't tighten it and just well, that didn't work, did it? Pretending I'm making a slip knot, and instead of pulling it tight, let's pull that back out again. start a slip knot, pull that through, and before you tighten it, take that working yarn up and grab it and just secure that with a chain or a slip stitch. And then you're just going to work into that circle. So it's almost very similar to the first option that we had, where we didn't do the knot, but we still ended up with this loop here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull that tail, and then we can slip stitch into that first. So under both those loops, pull through and pull through. That's a magic ring. So essentially doing the chain 2 without the knot when you're doing your casting on, you're essentially making a magic ring anyway. Like, I just think it all becomes very confusing, and I'm probably confusing you right now as I'm chatting because I'm trying to think about what I'm doing as I'm talking. 3, 4, 5, and grab that, pull that through, 1, 2, and continue. I'm actually going to, I think I might just redo that whole pattern with this yarn and that hook and that similar method, just so we can go right through.